world in April 2026 is balanced on a razor's edge, and what you see in the news is only a fraction of a real picture. While most observers focus on public statement, the real shifts are happening in close range from Cairo to Budapest. We have entered a period of high-stake gamble where the old rules of diplomacy no longer apply. In Gaza, the much-anticipated Phase 2 of the peace plan has hit a wall as Hamas officially rejects disarmament, accusing international mediators of deep-seated bias. This is not just a local disagreement, it's a fundamental breakdown that threatens the entire regional stability. Simultaneously, a dangerous escalation is unfolding on the Persian Gulf. The United States have initiated a naval blockade of Iranian ports, a move Beijing calls irresponsible and dangerous. We're seeing a direct confrontation between the world's largest economies over the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, Europe is witnessing a historic regime change. The era of Viktor Orbán in Hungary has ended, replaced by Péter Magyar, a shift that complicates the strategic calculation for both Washington and Moscow. Today, I will reveal you the hidden connection between these events and show you why the global ceasefire is more fragile than ever. The actors are moving their pieces, and the consequences of the next 24 hours could reshape the map of the Middle East and economic future of the West. I'm Blondie War, and I'm here to guide you through the complications of today's geopolitical landscape, focusing on facts and internal insight that often stay behind the scenes. My goal is to provide you with a clear understanding of a strategic shift moving our world right now. We're looking at a situation where military, hardware, and economic pressure are being used to dictate a new world order. Before we dive into the details of Gaza Deadlock and Iranian Blockade, I want to ask you for a small favor. If you value deep analysis and expert perspective on global conflicts, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel right now. Your support allows me to continue bringing you these crucial updates and high-stakes investigation. It only takes a second, but it helps us navigate these turbulent times together. Now let us look at the specific figures and classify details of why the peace process in Gaza is currently paralyzed and what it means for the future of the whole region. The crisis in Gaza has reached a critical turning point as the transition to the second phase of the peace plan is now officially stalled. Nikolai Mladenov recently presented a framework for a total demilitarization of the territory, but the response from Palestinian officials was a firm rejection. They accused the US-led Board of Peace of a direct bias toward the Israeli position, claiming that the proposed disarmament plan ignores the fundamental rights of the people. According to resources in Cairo, a senior Palestinian official familiar with the negotiations stated that Hamas will not engage in any talks regarding the second phase until the terms of the first phase are fully implemented. The deadlock is absolute. Israel insists that no further progress can be made without a complete decommissioning of weapons, while Hamas demands a total military withdrawal and the reopening of all crossings, including the Rafah crossing, for example. The first phase of the plan succeeded in halting the active conflict and facilitating the return of hostages, but the situation remains a humanitarian crisis. More than 72,000 people have lost their lives since the beginning of the military action, including over 700 since the ceasefire technically began in October 2025. The number is staggering and the tension on ground is palpable. U.S. Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff announced the start of Phase 2 in mid-January, aiming for a permanent end to the conflict. However, the reality is much darker. Hamas is currently reasserting control despite its heavy losses. They are demanding the deployment of international protection forces to assist local police and the immediate restoration of critical infrastructure. This includes bringing in heavy machinery for rubble removal and rehabilitating hospitals that are currently non-functional at all. Madenov warned the UN Security Council that the choice is now between a renewed conflict or a new beginning, but his vision lacks the financial guarantees for reconstruction that the Palestinian faction require. Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has already issued a sharp warning, stating that the disarmament will happen either the easy way or the hard way. This rhetoric, combined with the lack of clear timetable for Israeli obligation, has created a strategic vacuum. The reconstruction efforts are stalled, bakeries are closed, and water facilities remain damaged. Hamas and other factions refuse to accept any arrangement that links their survival to an literal disarmament without guaranteed political horizon. The geopolitical escalation shifted to a new dangerous level this Monday when the United States officially implemented a naval blockade of Iranian ports. This is a high-stake gamble orchestrated by the Trump administration to force Tehran into total nuclear submission. The U.S. Navy is currently operating in the Gulf of Oman and the Indian Ocean, strategically positioning its military hardware to intercept any Iranian vessels attempting to exit the region. Vice President J.D. Vance has labeled Iran's previous action in the Strait of Hormuz as economic terrorism, and his message was clear. If the Iranians engage in such tactics, the United States will ensure that no Iranian ship get out. This is a policy of maximum pressure when the sea becomes a battlefield of logistic and energy supplies. However, this kinetic event has triggered a fierce reaction from Beijing. China is the primary buyer of Iranian oil, and this blockade directly threatens its energy security. Foreign Minister spokesman Gu Jiakun issued a sharp statement in Beijing calling the American maneuvers irresponsible and dangerous. He warned that such a move would undermine the already fragile ceasefire. The tension is not just rhetoric. Our data shows that at least 4 Iran-linked ships managed to cross the strait yesterday, defying the pressure. These indicate that the blockade is not yet airtight, but it raises the risk of a direct military encounter between U.S. destroyers and Chinese tankers. The situation is further complicated by the massive trade threat. President Trump has signaled his intent to impose a 50% tariff on all Chinese goods. The ceasefire agreement reached on April 8 remains in place, but it is being tested by every naval maneuver. While the Middle East burns, a political earthquake has fundamentally altered the landscape of the European Union. In Budapest, the 16-year continuous rule of Viktor Orbán has come to a dramatic end. The new Prime Minister-elect, Péter Magyar secured a landslide victory with a 2/3 supermajority, and a result that has left Moscow cold and Washington with no comment. Magyar is a 45-year-old former insider of the Fidesz party, has successfully led a grassroots movement to dismantle what he calls a system of corruption and cronyism. This regime change is profound. Hungary has officially chosen Europe over its previous pragmatic alliance with Kremlin. This is a shift that few predicated a year ago, yet it happened with clinical precision through the ballot box. Magyar stated that while he would pick up the phone if Vladimir Putin called, he would use the conversation to demand an end to the killing and the senseless war in Ukraine. This is a radical departure from the previous administration's tone. Orbán was the only leader who sought the veto crucial aid to Kyiv, and his foreign minister, Péter Magyar, was known for his close tie to Sergei Lavrov. In fact, Magyar recently learned that confidential documents were being shredded at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs just hours after election results were confirmed. This indicates a desperate attempt by the old guard to hide the extent of their cooperation with Russian intelligence services. Magyar has already spoken to 10 European leaders, including Ursula von der Leyen, and has announced plans to visit Poland, Austria, and Germany immediately. He's pushing for Hungary to join the Eurozone, and it's emphasizing that Ukraine is the victim in this conflict. This shift removes a major obstacle for European Union military support and shifts the balance of power in Eastern Europe. For Donald Trump, this is a complicated development. Orbán was his most vocal ally in Europe, and G.D. Vance even visited Budapest to support the campaign. Now, the new leadership in Hungary is signaling a return to traditional Western alliances. Magyar has even invited Trump to attend 70th anniversary of the Hungarian uprising against Soviet occupation, but the message is clear: Hungary is no longer a gateway for Russian interests. The strategic shift in Budapest is a clear sign that the pro-Putin coalition in Europe is fracturing under the pressure of the ongoing humanitarian crisis. We're living through a period of high-stake gambling where the outcome is still uncertain. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think the U.S. naval blockade will force a peace deal, or are we just heading toward a major conflict with China? What do you think? Is the change in Hungary the beginning of the end for Russian influence in Europe? Share your analysis in comments below. I read every single one of them. The world in 2026 is moving so fast, and staying informed is our only real defense. Thank you for watching, and make sure you stay tuned for new investigation into hidden shift of global power. Your engagement helps this channel to grow and allows me to dig deeper into facts that really matter. See you in my next video. Stay vigilant.